It's interesting how all these things kind of come together. Today, a 3-judge federal panel, District Court of Appeals here, said that the Flynn case could be dismissed. And the person that wrote that opinion was Judge Rayo. Judge Rayo had been at OIRA, the agency that reviews regulations and does what Trump likes best, which is jeopardize the safe air and water of the American public and give in to industry and profits and pollution. And she did a good job of it. And the case she was most well known for was overriding President Obama's regulations on automobile exhaust. She became a judge a year ago. She said today, the district court's actions will result in specific harms to the exercise of the executive branch's exclusive prosecutorial power. If evidence comes to light calling into question the integrity or purpose of an underlying criminal investigation, the executive branch must have the authority to decide that further prosecution is not in the interest of justice. Well, I wonder, Judge Rayo, if who is supposed to look into the executive branch when what they do is not in the interest of justice? Well, it should have been Judge Rayo. It was one of the 3 judges, and maybe the full panel will review it. They should. The other way to do it is impeachment. Impeachment is the process by which, if the Justice Department and the executive branch are not pursuing the interest of justice, is the process left. And even if the ultimate trier of the Senate is impotent to see the truth and to exercise discretion in keeping with the American public and with the rule of law, we should pursue impeachment of Bill Barr because he is raining terror on the rule of law. And it's questionable what he's doing. Mr. McCasey, you said that there was an 1807 law, the Logan Act, and you disparaged it because it was an old law. Is that correct, that it was the one that was used to prosecute?
I did not disparage it because it was an old law. There are many old laws that are very fine. Our Constitution's even older.
You said that it was 1807, hardly ever used, and you disparaged it in the terminology that
I didn't use the specific law 1807. What I said was it has never been prosecuted successfully. It was prosecuted twice in the 18th and the beginning of the 19th century, both unsuccessfully, and that it is probably unconstitutional.
Well, thank you, sir. I'd just note that Bill Barr used an 1807 law, the Insurrection Act, to interfere with First Amendment rights so that the president could march through Lafayette Park and do his photo op holding a Bible in front of a church, not quote from the Bible, not lead people in prayer, but have a photo op in front of a church, a desecration of the Bible and a desecration of that church. So that was an 1807 law. Mr. Elias, you've testified as to cases that justice and antitrust took up concerning areas that otherwise you didn't think, or the Justice Department superiors didn't think were worthy of antitrust investigations. One was cannabis.
That's correct.
Was that cost the cannabis folks a lot of money?
Absolutely. These subpoenas that get issued that require production of millions of documents is very burdensome.
So it was harassment by Bill Barr of an industry he didn't like. Is that right?
I think that's a fair way to characterize it, yes.
And ironically, that just like Judge Rayo, it all comes back to one place. Barr doesn't like marijuana. Marijuana is 7 times more likely to be enforced against young African Americans, breeding discontent with police and breeding interactions with police. And Barr doesn't care about that type of stuff because he doesn't like marijuana, so that's okay. That's one of the breeding grounds of distrust of African Americans and police and African American contact and problems. Great, very unfortunate. And you also brought up the antitrust case, which brings us back here with Judge Rayo on the antitrust with the automobile manufacturers. Did Mercedes-Benz not join in on that case later?
That's correct.
And why do you think Mercedes-Benz didn't join in on that case?
So I have read news reports that the German government discouraged it from joining because of the DOJ investigation. I don't have firsthand knowledge of those events.
So the likelihood is President Trump, who didn't like what Governor Newsom did, got his way and kept Mercedes-Benz out of it and was able to try to change them from taking their position to be similar. Let me ask, Mr. McCasey, let me ask you this. Mr. Zelensky testified that for the guidelines where the defendant went to trial and remained unrepentant, in his experience, it was unheard of, especially like in Stone's case, when in the lead up to the trial, we was told no time, no one in the fraud and public corruption section of the United States Attorney's Office in D.C. which prosecuted that case, no time could he ever recall, or anyone recall, where the government did not seek guideline sentencings after trial. Do you know of any cases where the fraud and public integrity section did not seek guideline representation?
I do not, nor do I know of any
Thank
case.
you, sir. You
nor
don't,
do I know of
because
any
there is
case.
not a case. There isn't a case, but Bill Barr did it because Trump's friend.
Point of order. The witness was trying to
That
answer
was
the
not a
question.
that was not
Point
a
of order.
guideline recommendation. It was a travesty of a guideline recommendation.
I have the time, and I don't know who over there play. I have the time. And this is a travesty
order.
because
The
this is
gentleman's
another
time has
case
expired.
where politics is overcoming the rule of law and destroying America. I yield back the balance of my time.